Matryoshka doll.
Mm-hmm.
But this one here, you know, it's just it looks like it's cracked, but that's not. It doesn't come apart. It's just made to look like it does.
Huh.
But it's all these. It's part of the tradition of Easter, because in Russia, the most important festival of the year is not Christmas, it's Easter. And when they greet each other, they usually say Christ has died, and the response is Christ has risen.
Oh, wow.
They say that's how they greet each other. And this is cute, you know. And so all these here, this is the Trinity, and this is one of the depictions of the Virgin with the child.
Okay. All
All of these are hand painted, and they're very, very nice. In this country, they go for, they're not cheap. I'll put it like that. Okay, that was a nice little memory lane thing. By the way, this you're going to take this with you too, I hope. This is a nice piece.
I don't.
I would think we're probably have to get rid of it.
This is all walnut. I remember looking at this, you know, when I came and ate here a couple of times, and I remember looking at this and thinking, this is all burl. It's burl walnut. This is really, really nice, probably from the turn of the century. It's really good pieces. This is an icon with this is called an oklad. Oklad. It's OKLAD. And it's a protect the icon.
Yeah.
And the only parts it shows are the flesh, so the face and the hands. And that protects it from, from the soot of, because they don't use candles so much over there. They have what they call lampadas, which are like hanging lamps.
Yeah.
And they burn oil.
Okay.
Very similar to the way the Roman lamps used to work.
Yeah.
But there are some more of those.
Yeah.
Of that. That's what I've got now. A couple of what's it called?
Ladles.
Spoons and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But anyways, this is traditional. This is probably between 1880 and 1900. And it's got the name here, the saint and everything. Because that's another thing. For an icon to be valid, it had to have the name of the depiction.
Yeah.
So that was all there. And then you see these initials here. That's all part of, I forgot exactly what it means, but this looks like an H, but it's actually an N. There's an O, and I can't think, it looks like a T. I have to, we could look it up and find out what that is. But anyways, that's a real Russian icon. That's worth at least $250 to $500. This painting, I remember when she bought it. She got this in Russia, and I think it's supposed to be a depiction of either Tolstoy or some peasant in old age.
Somehow.
Yeah.
And I remember laughing at this. I always thought this reminded me of a Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, even though Tevye never steals a chicken or a rooster. It just looks like that. But it seems to me that your mother said that she had Jewish ancestry.
Yes. Yeah.
So she collected Jewish things.
I think on her mother's side.
Yeah. She told me that once. And see, this guy here, I think reminded her of a rabbi.
Yeah.
And there were little elements like that she responded to, and they interested her. And let's see, there's all sorts of things.
I'm not sure how much more mobility you're going to have on that other side.
It's all right. I'm small. I'm very small. Let's see. Have you looked at those plates to see what type they are?
I have not. Well, actually,
Well, see, there are the blue plates.
are they the
There's some more
same? Are they part of that same?
No.
Okay.
No, the blue ones are. You see those down there, and they're up here.
Yeah.
So these are all. They look like dessert plates.
Okay.
And down here too. And see, there's some more of those. So that set is much bigger than just what you see there, okay? And I don't know what she has down here.
But you're
this-
saying these blue plates are not part of that set, correct?
the blue plates, these here,
Yeah.
see? This one here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
That
part of her
one
wedding,
there-
that's
yeah,
wedding
they-
china.
Wait a
For
minute,
sure.
these blue ones are not. They're part of that set. These now could be what you're saying, that they're wedding china.
Yeah, I believe so.
And let me get one that isn't really difficult to pour. Because I just wanted to see if I could identify them. Ah, Oxford. This is Oxford china. Look,
Yeah.
I take a picture of it. You're going to keep this, aren't you? This is.
I've been halfway
know.
thinking
What
about
are we
keeping the
gonna do
blue
with all
china.
that? I mean, I just don't know.
I know.
Mauricio, I know what you're saying, but,
Well, see, some of these are from your family. You
well, I
they're-
know that, I know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, so.
If Duncan's got a place to keep it, I mean, because I just don't know.
I know. You know, like I said, the good thing about my stuff is that I'll be dead,
Yeah,
so I don't really care. But I
yeah,
do care. I care. I want the stuff to go to somebody who's going to take care of it. But I know that people will look at it as money.
they'll look at it differently from what you look at.
Oh,
That's-
absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't reach it. What do you want to grab? The little one?
I wanted to see the
one?
blue, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Is that part of the,
Yeah.
It's got the same mark and everything on it.
Yeah.
It's part of that set.
oh, okay, I see. And there's another one down in there in the
Mhm. There's
middle.
actually several.
I think,
There's
okay.
1, 2, 3.
I don't know where you're gonna put it.
I'm gonna keep it with this.
Here,
Can you open that?
4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, there's a bunch more. Okay.
Yeah. See, so all that goes with, it's all part of that set. Did you want me to take these out? And
I can do it at a later time. That's fine.
I can,
You can't fit all that in there.
Well, maybe if there's same size plates, they can
Well, the
stack.
plates, you can stack the plates on each other, I guess,
you
but,
can. If you want me to take them out, I
Then
can
sure.
do it. I
Yeah.
can do it.
all right, okay.
I'm probably smaller, so
Hand them to him and, okay.
yeah, it'll be easier.
Only so much
And
room.
that way, if I break it, you can blame me.
Oh my gosh.
It's just tricky. That's all. Got it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them in there.
Mhm. That's why I figured I'd go ahead and get them out.
I'm guessing.
Since you know, if you're thinking about selling it, you might as well sell them as a set because they have
Yeah.
more value there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because this is, I would call this like a dessert or breakfast set. That's what it reminds me of.
Sort of a compote.
Yeah, it's really nice stuff. And then this here, I want to look at this for a moment. It's cut like crystal, but it's not marked. But I know that your mother liked Waterford.
Yeah, evidently the chandelier in the other room is a Waterford.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you know
She
how much
found
that's
that
worth?
at Goodwill
Yeah, yeah.
In
in
a
a
box,
box wrapped in
yeah.
newspaper.
I don't remember
Looks like that.
when she hung it, but
You know, this one's not. I'm surprised. I know that this is Waterford. I could bet my life. I'm just trying to find where it's marked. There it is, right there. This is what I want you to look at. You see how fine that mark? It's acid etched.
yeah.
What
Okay.
is that you're looking at? Because that,
It's the mark. It's Waterford.
now that may be, some of this stuff in here is from my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I can't say I see a distortion.
No, you have to look really carefully. It's done with acid. Okay. You have to put it in the right light. So
I saw it.
you see it there?
Yeah, it's white.
Yeah. That's it. It says Waterford, and it looks like it's old script. You know, that old Gothic script.
Yep.
Okay, that's
and
what.
I think the camera's picking up too.
Yeah, that's Waterford.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it has a little chip here, right there.
Yeah.
But still, it. Waterford went out of business about 20 years ago.
They did?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately,
I had no idea.
Yeah, and they were actually there were two Waterford factories. The original one, in the time of Queen Victoria, went out of service in the 1850s. I think went out of business, and then after World War II, a bunch of Bohemian glass blowers, in other words, people from the Czechoslovakian area,
Yeah.
they were skilled glass blowers. They fled and they came over to Ireland and they reestablished a glass blowing business there, and they called it Waterford because that was the village that they lived in, and that revived and made the famous Waterford crystal again. And then it finally, it was so popular for so many years, and then it just sort of went out of fashion. But people still paid high prices to get Waterford crystal because it's so well made. See stuff like this. This here is real Dalton. And these little, you see these badges? Well, these are Christmas ornaments. Now this is mass produced. This
Okay.
is not hand painted, but it's reproducing with those lacquer boxes.
Yeah.
Those lacquer boxes are real. And let's see what else. Golly. A lot of these things. Oh, look at this. This is Occupy Japan. I know this. My grandmother had this same piece.
Occupy Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in other words, this was made after the war in Japan while the American troops were still there. And it used to be that Occupy Japan things were really, really in high demand. But now, because of the internet and various other things, not so much. So, and this here, this is a cigarette case, I believe, or it's a compact. Let's see. It's a cigarette case.
Wow.
And this was very fashionable. This is a more modern one, but this one, it says made in USA.
Yeah.
And you used to have your own, and you would have your initials engraved on it. And then this stuff here is probably Picard China. Let me pick up one that I won't destroy. Oh, it's not marked. That one's not marked. Not marked. Let's see. It's marked. This one's marked. So, Wheeling Decorative Company, West Virginia. How about that? But that's solid gold that it's covered with.
Oh.
Yeah. People think that it's some other metal. It's solid. It's gold. Anytime you see
The
gold.
thing is solid gold?
No. The overlay over the
the
porcelain.
overlay.
Yeah. No, if
So
it were
it's
solid
porcelain.
gold, I would have had a hard time picking it up.
Yeah, that's true.
It
So
would have
it's
been
porcelain coated with gold, you
gold.
think?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. See, this is another one. Wheeling, West Virginia. This is actually, I'd never seen this type of ware. I thought it was made by Picard. Picard used to make this, and it was really famous for us. But this is from another company. I guess they were able to imitate it. So that's an asparagus dish. That's what it's called. Yeah. And then this piece here, this nice. I'm gonna try to take this out without dropping it.
If it's Oriental, it may be from Ellen's grandmother. On
It
her
is
mother's
Oriental, and all it says is China.
side. Okay.
So that tells you it was made after 1920. This is probably from the 1930s. This is all hand painted, and it's a nice figurine, and yeah. So this is a piece that's worth between 50 and 100 without too much problem. It's a nice piece. It's very nice, and the stand and everything. give you an idea, some of these. That's where I think you wanna. And then this here, this is Burm porcelain, because I have this same piece too. I have this one, and you can see it's, you know, it's he's caught a little butterfly. In fact, she's got a note here.
Uh-oh.
It just says Emmy.
Yep. Duncan's daughter.
Okay. Is that for her then?
Maybe she wants Emmy to have that, I guess.
Probably.
There's notes that are in different pieces of furniture, and evidently she put it under different items.
Okay. Well, that's
with the
probably
intents.
what she intended it for certain people then. Yeah. Is there anything else you want me to pull out? Because I think everything else here is more or less. I don't think there's anything terribly exceptional here. This is Nippon. This was made made around 1920.
Okay.
When you see Nippon, that's the old word for Japan.
Okay.
Okay.
No, the only other stuff was just behind Dad on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
How'd you
I
turn
don't
that light on? Right? Oh, there, I see it down there. You might have to come back this way. I don't know. God.
So, well, you know, there used to be a beautiful silver urn here.
Duncan has that.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That was one of the pieces I was telling you about on the phone. That was from your family. I remember when
It said Duncan on there. And
yeah,
that was,
I remember when she got that. I said, Ellen, that's really nice. It's either a coffee urn or a water dispenser.
Yeah,
you
I
can
think-
use it either way.
yeah.
And I think it was solid silver.
Yeah.
That was
That was beautiful. And Duncan has it.
good. Well, good. It's staying in the family because that's definitely what you want. That's it. Oh, these are this piece here. That's called lusterware. There's nothing particularly. It's not valuable or anything, but it's just this is from about the 1940s, 1950s.
And maybe from her mother. She had a lot of Chinese. I think her grandfather or somebody was over in China, or I don't know. She brought back some stuff. I don't know.
This is carved wood. It's just this is a workman just. Ellen, 1955.
Ellen, 1955.
Yeah, that's what it says.
So Ellen made that, or what?
No, she wouldn't have made it.
No.
I don't think so. But it just says Ellen, 1955.
What is it? Oh, turn it.
Well, it's made in. It says made in China,
Oh, okay.
and it's just a Japanese
Oh,
figurine.
okay.
It's all just.
So maybe her
Just-
mother. I think Ellen's mother was doing that too. Anything that's
Maybe.
Chinese like
Yeah.
this. They have.
That's what I'm just noticing. Just a few little things here and there. This is Lenox, I believe. Yep, that's Lenox porcelain. Very nice. Let's see what else we have. What's that?
See if we can get through here.
Oh, this one here. I remember when she got this. Where's that? Let's just move this here. Let's turn it upside down here. Now we can open this. Whoops. Am I missing something? There it is. Okay, there we go. Yeah. This is a cute piece. And this is what I was trying to tell you. The price was 1 ruble 50 kopecks, and 1 C is first sort. That means made for export. And it's just a little boy, and what they call a pioneer. In Russia, instead of having Boy Scouts, they had young pioneers.
Okay.
And so this is a young pioneer. He's all dressed up in adult boots, and he's got his binoculars, and you see he's got in that cap. Remember that cap I put on? That dates it from about, say, the late 40s, early 50s.
Okay.
And that cap was very common. That's why your mother bought that. because she recognized the style of it. And what she did, she glued these things in place.
Yeah,
Really?
Put
Yeah.
that
She,
Putty or something?
yeah, she put some type of
the
so they wouldn't topple over.
Yeah.
This
That's
is
a good
called Gazelle. This is Gazelle porcelain, and there it is. You see it, the name of it, Gazelle.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
and this is modern Russian stuff, and this is it's always blue and white, always. I don't know of any other variation I've ever seen, but that's, this is very collectible. Gazelle. And then, see all these pieces here. I want to knock that over. This other piece I know is Russian. I recognize it. Yeah. Oh, this is traditional. In old Russia, when they welcomed somebody into a village, like a diplomat or a dignitary or somebody, they would welcome them with salt and bread.
oh wow.
That's the bread here, and here's the
Okay,
salt.
table salt, yeah.
Salt and bread, that's what this is. And it's just got a mark here. But I can't really, I know it's Russian. Third sword, 3C.
Oh,
You see
okay.
it there, the little
Yeah,
3C?
yeah.
So this is definitely what they would call not a defective piece, but not first quality.
Okay.
So that's what that is. But that is traditional. It's a traditional, woman bringing salt and bread.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they still do that. It's a ceremony. You
Yeah.
know, like when, say, a party official comes to a village for someplace to a first time or something like that.
Yeah.
They come out and they greet them like that with it's considered the same way that you'd have you call out the band, or you call whatever you would do, you would it's just a mark of greeting and respect. Like that, that's what that is. And this is a cute piece. This is the legend of St. George and the Dragon.
Huh.
That's what that is. St. George and the Dragon is the patron saint of Moscow.
Yeah.
So when you see any depictions of Moscow, like their seal and everything else,
Yeah.
it has a depiction of St. George killing the dragon. So you see St. George and there's a dragon. And this one, Home Goods. So she must have found this. It was probably something that they marketed and didn't recognize what it was.
Yeah.
Home Goods is one of those, cheap stores.
Yeah.
But it's a good piece. It's actually Russian. Yeah.
Let me ask you this blue thing up here, is this part of the other stuff? It looks a little different, I don't know. I hesitate to get it
Close this
close.
now. There. So when you open that, it's got a really tight
Seal.
okay. Click to it. Let me get,
I don't know that this
get
is,
where you are.
I'm saying this thing here.
I think it's Chinese.
Oh, okay.
It looks Chinese to me. It's not.
Yeah,
Chinese
you're right,
things
okay. It didn't look quite the same
No,
thing.
I think it's Chinese.
You gonna try to look in here?
Yeah, just to
Just,
see if they see anything. I knew that Ellen had collected a lot of Russian things, because we used to talk about it all the time. But when I'm just looking at it,
This cabinet used to be in the kitchen, and I moved it all out here. I had to completely unload this thing, because when we had the kitchen renovated, it was in the way. So I put it
I
up here.
believe it. Yeah, I'm gonna look at something. There we are. So it opens like this.
Okay.
What is this?
Huh.
I don't know what this is.
What the heck is that thing?
Oh, I think this is a lid of something.
Yeah?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It looks like it's all hand painted. It is hand painted. But I don't think this is Russian. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it doesn't look it, but I think it's a lid for something.
Most of all this stuff that was in here is books, and then
Yeah.
just
And this, I think this is solid silver, which it is. I was right. It says here, Gora. And
it's tarnished like it's silver.
yeah, that happens. That's the problem with living in Florida. This is, I think, the same thing. Just as sterling and weighted. The problem with these things, you know, like if you were to sell it to a scrap metal collector, the first thing to do is they just rip the bottom off and take the weight, because it's got plaster in there to help keep it, you know, bottom heavy so it doesn't flip over. Because otherwise, you know, it gives it a too heavy a weight. But this here, this is cute. Yeah, this is a jockey, you know, on our horse. And your mother used to collect these. I got a piece from her. It was a devil.
A devil.
A devil, yeah, a devil. It was a little like a demon with a big long tail. It was made of, and this is solid bronze, and it was like this, except that, you know, it was tall. This long.
Yeah.
I still have it. I think I've got it packed away. But yeah, she would find things like this. She used to go to secondhand stores every so often, and she would come across things like this, and this is a nice little piece. It's cute. I like stuff like that. This is good. So yeah, if you think about if nobody wants that, that's a nice little. I like this piece. It's cute.
You want to take it with you?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I'll just put
I
it.
can give you that.
That's a nice piece. It's. I mean, it's feel how so you know what it feels
brass,
like.
huh?
It's bronze. Yeah,
Bronze, yeah.
it's solid bronze.
Oh yeah, that's a genuine. That's not
And
like a
it's-
piece of plastic.
Yeah, and you know why I like this? This is traditional of the South. That's I think why your mother got it.
Yeah.
This is jockeying like this. This is a Southern tradition.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, it used to be a big thing, and then they moved it up north. And you know where the first racetrack is in this country?
Where?
Saratoga Springs.
Saratoga.
Really?
Yeah, that's where that's where horse racing began in this country.
Never would have thought.
Yeah, because it was also where the famous springs were, you know. And I drank from that spring. I went up there. Don't ever do that. It's the worst water I have ever tasted.
God, no, yeah.
And there's a movie. It's called Saratoga Trunk with Ingrid Bergman and Gary Cooper. It was made in 1943, 42, 43.
Yeah.
It's in black and white, and that's where she goes. It's called Saratoga Trunk. So it's about actually, it's the railroad industry is what it's about. But she goes up there because it's also where the high society would go, and it was the season for that. And it shows her drinking out of an exact replica, because all that was done in the studio, an exact replica of the actual fountain, and it's still there. And I remember I took a cup and, oh God, it was, you know,
Tasted so bad.
medicine tastes better than that.
Yeah.
And you know, your mother,
She brought that back from
you
Utah
know,
or something.
yeah, she stole that.
Yeah.
She brought me, she put these things in a backpack. And
That's how
carried
she.
them.
Okay, I was wondering.
Yeah,
I
she
couldn't remember.
put it in a. She told me because I still have my piece. It's in the front of my house.
Yeah.
And it's a little smaller, but she essentially looted that from the the Petrified Forest National Park.
I think she told me that she took it outside the park. Maybe I don't
There's a lot of stuff.
She took it outside the park.
Yeah, when it's
she
outside
carried
the park,
it.
you can do anything.
Have you ever been out there? To them?
No.
It is.
I've been to Arizona, but
Yeah.
I never went up to Utah.
There's a lot of land around it.
Oh yeah.
And
It's
some of it's private. If you went over into somebody's yard, I mean, just
possible.
have you ever been to Canyonlands?
No, I've
Okay.
never been in that area.
Okay, so just
I
outside.
just laughed. I mean, we were laughing about the stupid things that she
She got away with it.
she had adventures with or without people. Okay, she just did it. I mean, she was one of these. She was a free spirit.
Yeah.
You know? And she did things like that. And for her, it was. If it occurred to her to do it, then that was good enough. It was good enough. That was the way she thought. And who's to argue with it?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, you remember? I guess she told you about that tale when she was crossing this creek, going to this place where supposedly there were some hieroglyphs or something, and a naked Indian man came.
I forgot about that.
because it was on a reservation, started walking towards the car where she was in, because she had a pistol. So she picks the pistol up and, you know, right there in front of the window, and the guy kind of stayed back. But she still had to go and come back through the same way. So, but this was an Indian that was out there bathing in the creek, an Indian guy.
It's probably on his land.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably it's
Well,
the
it was on
reservation.
reservation, and if they want to go out there and bathe,
They can do whatever they want. That's
and
their
this
land.
guy started walking towards her.
But you know, that's the thing. Another thing about Ellen, she never met a stranger. I mean, everybody. She would strike up conversations just because.
Yeah.
You know? There was no reason. She just did it. And one time, I really got hot under the collar, and I told her off. The only time I ever had a disagreement with your mother, we were in Russia. We were in St. Petersburg, and we were, we only had 10 days there, and there was a ton of stuff to see. And she started talking to. We were in the what they call Admiralty Square. It's right next to the Hermitage, and there's this gigantic column with some saint on it, and it's huge. And so the Admiralty is on one side, because that's the area that more or less runs the Navy.
Yeah.
And then there's the palace. And she starts talking to this guy there, and I'm saying, I'm looking at my watch. I said, Ellen, let's keep going. Let's keep going. And she's talking to him half in Russian and half in English, because her Russian really wasn't that good.
Yeah.
She thought it was, but it wasn't. Anyways, I finally got exasperated, and I said, "The hell with this," and I just walked on. Mm-hmm. And so we separated for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
That was in the afternoon, probably about 2:00. So finally, somewhere about 5 or 6 or so, I got back to the hotel, and she was there. And she said, "Why did you take off?" I said, "Ellen, we're not here to talk to people. We're here to see things.
Yeah.
It's all right to talk to somebody for a little bit, but Ellen, I didn't pay to come here and watch you talk to somebody."
Yeah.
That's right.
And I want to go see, and I went on to see the rest of the Hermitage. I did a whole bunch of other stuff. I felt bad about it because and I know she was very I felt bad. You know what? I regretted doing it, but then again, I needed to tell her.
Yeah. Important is the boundaries.
If you were by yourself, it would be fine.
Yeah.
But we're together, so let's do this. So she never did it again. And that was that. But she was that way everywhere she went. Generally, though, she didn't keep talking to somebody. But on the other hand, that tendency to do that got us into some really neat places, like the Lenin Library. She struck up a conversation with this guy. He had served in East Berlin, in East Germany. He spoke some German. He spoke English well enough, and he spoke, and of course he spoke Russian. And because your mother was such an attractive person, she turned eyes everywhere when we were there.
Oh, yeah.
No kidding. She turned eyes. And she dressed well, which most Russian women don't. Let's put it this way. The clothes in Russia are like, so she looked good. And she always fixed her hair nicely and everything. And that red hair in Russia is rare.
Yeah.
People try to dye their hair, but they do it. It comes up like copper.
Yeah.
And it looks awful. It just looks flaming awful. So, anyways, this guy obviously he thought she was attractive, and so he more than willingly talked to her. And as it turned out, he was a newspaper. He was a journalist, a newspaperman.
Yeah.
And we were really close to the Lenin Library. We were right across from the Kremlin. And she says, I guess she brought up about the Lenin Library, that we wanted to go in and see some of the old books and so on. He said, I can get you in. And sure enough, we did. He got us in. He literally took us right in, and we went in, and I had never seen a first edition of Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn. They had it there.
For goodness sake.
A first edition. I didn't even know what they looked like.
How in the
They
world?
had some of the rarest books. I mean, American books. They also had the notebooks and the worksheets for the Tsar's family, the last, you know,
Oh, yeah?
like it was Alexis and Maria and Tatiana and Olga and Anastasia. They're what's it called? Their note papers and everything. They were there laid out. I remember looking at them and thinking, you know, they were children, obviously, when they did all that, and they had it on display. They had other books. They had books, I think, by George Orwell, and all just, it was stuff I had never seen on display in the United States. And I've been to some, you know, good libraries.
Yeah.
This was stunning. This wasn't the main reading room. It was what they call the rare or manuscript room.
Yeah.
And we stayed there for about an hour just looking at stuff.
Yeah.
And there were guards there. And I remember the guard stopped us. And he showed his credentials, and
And that was it.
that was it. We got in. And I noticed that anything you wanted to do in Russia, all you had to do was get some high-ranking official, and you were in.
Yeah.
No money. There was no bribery. There was no... So I thought, well, we have this detrimental quality of Miss Ellen, but then we have this excellent quality of Miss Ellen, and I was like, you know,
It's a trade-off.
it balances. It does. I mean, like I said, that was the only time I ever spoke harshly to her. And I still regret it. I still remember it, but I just was so mad, so angry because she just wouldn't move. And then there's this other thing I got to tell you. We went to Sergei Posad, you know, where that church is. You know,
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. So we came back on the train, and we came back literally about 5 or 6 in the afternoon. That's when everybody's going home. The train stations in Russia, in Moscow, there are, I think, 4, and they're each a different style of building, and they're beautiful buildings, and they're huge, but they're side by side, and they all empty into this one great big square. So we came in, our train was the first one, we came in, and we started walking, and I turned around, and I saw this mob coming out of one of the other stations, and then I turned over, and another mob was coming out of the other station,
Yeah.
and we were at the head of our own mob.
Oh.
And I said, Ellen, if we don't run, we're not going to make it across the square.
Yeah.
Because we had to connect, you know, with the actual, the trains, you know, the local trains in Moscow, you know, to get back to the hotel. So I said, Ellen, run. You got to run. Well, you know, I guess when you're wearing fashionable clothes, you can't run.
It's hard.
So we didn't make it. And I swear, we got separated. I remember it's like those scenes in the movies where people get separated in the mob, and they're, Ellen, you know, I was calling her, and she was like, because she was being carried one way, and I was being carried the other way.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it was one of those crushes where the people, it was wall-to-wall people, and they're all moving like a, you know, like a stampeding herd.
Yeah.
And I got caught. And I couldn't move. I mean, I just went with the crowd, and she went with her crowd, and and that was the last I saw her until later that evening. But it was funny, you know, that actually happened to us.
Yeah.
And
Like
I had,
a movie.
you know, those are the scenes you see like in New York City when you know the crowds on the sidewalks. Well, honestly, I never saw a crowd on the sidewalk in New York City like that.
Yeah.
And they were moving at a fast pace, and they were elbowing me. And the only other place I ever got caught in a mob like that was in the Palace of Versailles. This busload of Japanese tourists were coming down the hall, and I was in the Hall of Mirrors, the famous Hall of Mirrors. I saw them coming, and it was like the stampede coming to me. You know, I don't know what it is about Japanese tourists. They don't know how to walk slow and sightsee.
Yeah.
They just run. I mean, you know,
Well,
like they were going to catch the subway, you know. And this is the Hall of Mirrors. This is, you know, the middle of the palace.
Yeah.
And I saw them coming, and I was like, I'm screwed. You know, I don't know. And so I ran, you know, diagonally, you know, literally perpendicular to them. And I made it to one of the big doors and windows that faces out on the garden. And I hid in that. It was like an alcove. And I hid there, and they were just running by. And, you you could actually hear the footsteps and the
The floor?
shaking of
Oh,
the
no.
floor. Yeah, it was this wild. I said, this is crazy. This is crazy. I mean, this, you know. So I never heard of a stampede in the building, but I guess so. And the other time I was looking at the Mona Lisa. I was at the Louvre, and another busload of Japanese tourists, and they came in, and you can't get next to the painting. You can get, as close as you can get to it is like from here to the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's in a big case, and then they've got velvet,
Ropes,
on
yeah.
the front. So I'm standing there looking at it. I didn't have a camera. I just was taking it in, and I saw the tourists coming, and they were coming, and I figured they were just going to gather around me. No, they knocked me over. I swear, just like, what's the rush?
Yeah.
You know, I've been standing there for a few minutes. I mean, what do you see? I mean, they might as well have come in with roller skates,
Yeah.
you know, and just, you know. But that's, I think the whole idea is just to say, I was there. I don't think they actually looked at anything. Not unless, you know, they have photographic memory or something. But anyways, if you go to Europe, be aware.
Yeah.
Well, he did.
Yeah, I was stationed in Germany for 2 years.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mannheim.
Where? Mannheim?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jen and I had the chance to go to Berlin, Cologne, Amsterdam, Mönchengladbach, Rotterdam, Cologne. Oh, I already said that.
Yeah,
Paris.
you went to the Netherlands too. So it's like,
yeah. Rome, Venice, Pisa.
All the NATO countries, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, all the countries
Florence.
are getting ready to repel Putin,
Yes.
because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's building.
But, I
Yeah.
mean, it sucks. But
Well, you know, I read an article 2 days ago. I didn't realize that. I knew about the Russian mafia because I saw them every day I was in Moscow.
yeah.
They dressed differently. They dressed in Italian suits, Italian shoes, and they drove Mercedes.
Yeah.
They were, everybody else was poor.
Yeah.
And but the article said that they're really upset with him and they want him overthrown. They've tried to assassinate him 3 times. They said 2 times they tried to bomb his motorcade
Yeah.
and didn't fail. Then they sabotaged his an elevator he was supposed to take.
Oh.
And apparently he didn't take the elevator.
Yeah.
But 12 of his aides did, and they plunged to their death.
Oh.
It was like, you know, is this like the Apple Dumpling Gang? I mean, you know, this is the Russian mafia. They're supposed to be worse than the American mafia,
Yeah.
and they can't get it right. I mean, come on.
They should have done every elevator,
Hey, you want to get over here?
not just the one.
I'm sorry.
Are you wanting to get over here?
No, every avenue has another avenue.
Has another avenue. Well,
Yeah,
I think you're right. By the way, all of these icons, and these are all authentic. Every bit. These brass ones, they're not quite as valuable as the painted ones, like this one here. That's it has an accolade on it. But these others that are enameled, I know the names of some of those. But those enamels, the more colors they have on them, generally speaking, the more valuable they are, and the rarer they are. And they're very nice. All of those, because I have. God, what's the name of them? They're called. It starts with an S. Scala something. Scalin, I think. Anyways, they date, like this one here, is probably from about, I'd say this one's about from the 1700s. And they've polished it so much, say early 18th century, she's written it there. I said 1700s, that's what that is.
Yeah.
And this can be worn as an amulet, it can be worn here, or as she has it. And they would have an altar. And it was usually in the corner of the room, just like she did it here.
Yeah.
And it would just be shells. and nothing would be hung. It would just be, leaning against the wall. That was a traditional way. This is the lampada I was telling you about. This is the traditional way to, instead of having candles, they would put this. The one thing that's different for her, see if I can get in here.
Oh,
She might have done it. Show you.
You want me to take it off of there?
No, she did it. This is it. I don't know if I can. Can you grab it? Okay,
Yeah, I got
there
it.
we are. Now look at this. What you do, you take oil, you put it in here and fill it up. The wick soaks it up, and then you light it here, and that's it. And this will burn for several hours, and that's called lampada. And it's from the word lamp,
Yeah.
lampa in Italian, in Latin.
Yeah.
And this is traditional. This is how they would do it. Yeah. So this is a nice one. She bought this one in Novodovici.
Okay.
Remember I showed you that fortress we looked at?
Yeah.
It? Okay, Novodovici. That's where the seminary in Moscow is, and we went into the gift shop, and I think she bought it there. I'm almost positive she got it there, and I got one too. And that's just so you know. And then the other things here, like that, these are all authentic. Skladden, that's the word. Skladen. They're called skladden. These, these brass ones. All right, and they were usually, the reason why they exist is because they were easy to pack. The Russian people, they wanted to carry their saints with them. So this was they were very portable, and they would carry these things around with them, and they were specific. This one here, I'm trying to remember the name of this one. I can't.
Can you see it?
Yeah, but she didn't write the name on it. This I think she must have bought on eBay.
Okay.
But I can tell you that something like this is between $50 and $150 right off.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So tiny.
yeah. This is really nice, and it's authentic. And you see, it hasn't been polished to to nothingness like that one.
Yeah.
But they would do that, and they would polish it with, what was it? Chalk.
Really?
Chalk and something else, and it's just all it does is an abrasive, and it wears everything down. This one's still mint perfect. And you see, this is authentic. And then you see these rough lines like that.
Yeah.
That's the way it was cast. That's authentic one. That's it. Now they're making repros of these now, and I'm just telling you that's why they have value. These were easy to hide during the Stalinist period. Literally, there were people that were essentially being reprimanded or punished for still worshiping in the old way.
Okay.
So people hid their icons.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the churches, Stalin had a lot of churches torn down, just totally. He was a real atheist. He hated the Orthodox Church. Now, when I was there, the Orthodox Church was doing okay. And I asked a friend of mine, I said, how come, I thought the Soviet system was atheist? And he said, yes. I said, so why are all these churches still around? He said, because that's where the government gets its revenue. I said, what do you mean? He said, they have to turn over 90% of their contributions. Russia did not have, or the Soviet Union didn't have taxation.
Oh.
There was no taxation, so that was their way of taxing the people.
Wow.
They had an arrangement with the church, you gather taxes for us and you can keep 10%. Well, of course, they didn't call it that to the people.
Yeah.
The people didn't realize that the church was a tax agency. That the church was actually the IRS.
Yeah.
So they had this relationship. They knew that the people still were devoted to the church and they would contribute. And they nationalized a few of the churches, turned them into museums. Now they've turned them back into churches because now it's it's more fashionable to be religious.
Is that still how they do taxes?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I would think not. because they would do a lot better if they taxed the businesses. But since what's his face, Putin and all his oligarch friends owned them all,
Yeah.
I don't know how they get their revenue, and if they just skim it. This is what's it called? It's the resurrection of the righteous from Hades, from hell.
Can I get some light?
Yeah, literally, Jesus went down into hell, and he began helping the ancients like Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and so on. And that's what he's doing. And there's one here where it shows Adam and Eve, but I can't tell which one it is. But that's what this is. It's called the harrowing of hell. That's the actual name of it. These are Russian feast days. So in the church, and that's why you see these. There's another one over here. Each of these is commemorated as a feast day of the Russian Orthodox Church. And so they would have these, and I guess they would give them special devotion on those feast days.
All right.
I suppose. But
You
that's
got
what that
anything on
is.
the back? Okay.
Resurrection, Easter.
Okay.
Easter, I don't know what that next word is. Easter something.
2000.
Icon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Resurrection, Easter. But anyways, it's called the harrowing of hell. That's it. Harrowing means like like plowing.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's that one.
Okay.
And this one here, this is the Transfiguration. There's Jesus and Moses and Elijah, and see here are the disciples, the apostles,
Yeah.
and so they're doing worship to Jesus because he's being transfigured. That's another one of the feast days,
Yeah.
the Transfiguration. Let's see if she wrote anything. Just says 19th century.
So
So,
approximately the
1800s.
same value as the last. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pretty much. And you see, this was in perfect condition. It's not been worn down or anything.
Yeah.
So that's each of these. This one here, let's see what it is.
Well, she's got several of these kind of things,
yeah.
in, that's for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Because they were very popular. This one here, this is called in the East we call this Veronica's veil, but actually it's they call the legend. By the way, remember that icon over there?
Yeah.
Here are the same letters around. I think it means. It has something to do with holy something at Christ or something like that. It's initials for a phrase, which I don't remember right off the bat. But this is Jesus. This is abbreviated Christos right here.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ. Remember I told you the icons had to have labels?
Yeah.
They have to be named. And so anyways, the legend is that when Jesus was carrying the cross, he tripped several times. I think it was 3 times. Anyways, one of a woman, supposedly her name was Veronica, went up to him and took a cloth and wiped his brow because it was, he was perspiring and everything, plus bleeding because he had the crown of thorns. And the legend is is that the imprint of his face stayed on the cloth.
Yeah.
And that's Veronica's veil. In Western, they have the same thing in the Eastern, the Orthodox, but it just goes a little bit different. Anyways, that's the depiction. You see the veil
Okay.
here?
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Golly. What she got on the back, anything? Same deal.
19th century.
Okay.
So all these are a thing, and they're called Skladden. Skladen. Skladden. That's the name of them. And they started appearing, oh my goodness, all the way back, I'd say into the 1500s maybe.
Jeez,
And
so
this one here is interesting too. Let's see if I can pick it up without dropping it. Oh well,
Yeah.
I'll fix it later. Now this one here has, this is the birth of Christ. Okay, you see Mary is giving birth here, and she's in the manger. All right, and these are all scenes from that. And this is apparently when they first arrived there. And this is, all of that. No, hold on. Am I doing this right? Yeah, because that's Mary about to give birth, and then here is where she has given birth, and then she's on the mule, on the ass, okay, whatever. She's going, she's leaving Bethlehem. This, I think, is the presentation at the temple.
That's fairly complex. I mean, it's got doors and it opens up.
Yeah, you can close it like that.
Golly.
Yeah, and here's the Holy Trinity up here. Here's the depiction of Jesus' face, the angels, the cherubs. Triptych. That's what a triptych. Late 17th, early. That's correct. And you see the casting is much cruder. That's typical of that time. So you're talking about a 200-year-old piece here without any problem, maybe up to 300.
And the hinges are still there and all that.
It's all intact.
She got that in Russia, I guess? Or?
I don't know. I don't think she did, because when I was with her, we were very careful about not taking out things that were really old.
Oh, so that would be old.
This would not have been permitted to go
you said
out.
within 50 years?
Yeah, it was 50 years. If anything was 50 years old or older, it was not permitted to leave. It was considered historic.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she smuggled it out. But, I mean,
No, I think
she
she got it from eBay.
Okay.
Because a lot of this is available.
crime.
A lot of other people smuggle this junk out because they had connections. There's a guy here. In fact, your mother is the one that introduced me to Russian icons, because she called me one day and said, "Would you be interested in seeing this Russian art exhibit?" And I said, "Yeah." And where was it? You know where the intersection of Wekiva Springs Road and 434.
Okay.
That used to be an Albertsons there. Now it's Publix. Well, right across the street is a strip mall, and it was there. There was a store there that this guy had rented. His name was Gary Hollingsworth.
Oh, okay.
Gary Hollingsworth, and he had this exhibit of all these icons like this and like that, and it was the first time I'd ever seen Russian icons in person. And it got me interested, and I talked to him. Of course, Ellen talked to him, and it wasn't so long after that, maybe within a year, that we went to Russia. Yeah. So that was about 97 that we. So that's what I was trying to tell you. I met your mother in 92, and gosh, within the first year or so, we hit it off, and we were talking about all sorts of stuff. And she didn't have any icons at that time, and I didn't either.
Yeah.
And she was still going to school, and so was I, and on and on. Yeah. This is going to be true. This is going to be true.
I could pick up that thing of books if you'd like.
Here, let me see something here. I think, if I don't, I'm real quick. So what we're going to do is put this back like this.
It's a dog crate.
And we put this right here. Oh, come on. That's it.
All of it stands up, whatever.
Yeah. And
That's
then
cool.
we'll just move St. Anthony of Padua here over to one side. This was my, by the way, that was my grandmother's patron saint. In Latin America, you don't celebrate your birthday. You celebrate your birthday on the feast day of the saint whose feast day you were born on.
Oh.
That's how, and so that became her patron saint, St. Anthony of Padua. And when she died, I went to Honduras, and I brought her personal that day, and I brought it out, and my sister took one look at it. She said, "That's mine," and she just grabbed it. I said, "Wait a minute, I brought it for me." No, I want something of her. This is another piece of skladden, and you notice all the decoration, all the flowers and everything.
Yeah.
Again, that's typical. This is now late 19th century. So this is about 1890, 1900. And look at all the colors. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5. Yeah, you have You have white, dark blue, green,
yellow,
amber, and light blue. So that's 5 colors. This is a really nice piece. It's in perfect condition. This is a skladden, and it's worth at least $200. You can go online, just put in Russian icons brass, and this is authentic. This is not a copy. What they're putting on the on eBay now are a lot of modern fakes, and you can certainly tell a lot of the fakes because they look too good.
Yeah.
But this one's authentic, and to have them with all this colors, they paid extra for that. Put all those different colors, because normally they were like like that one there. They didn't have any enamel or anything. That's actually enamel. So you have here, literally, here's Jesus, of course, and then you have the cherubs. You have, there's Veronica's veil. Remember, it's that piece there.
Yeah.
It's the same one. You have a sun and a moon. This is from old, pre-Christian pagan beliefs of the Russian people. And then you have, this is Mary and Mary Magdalene on one side, and I think John and Andrew on the other side. These are the women and the men, just like in the church. When you go to an Orthodox church, the men are on one side of the church, the women on the other, and they don't sit; they stand for the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, I was there. I know.
Yeah.
And then supposedly, this is Jerusalem. See these buildings? That's supposed to depict Jerusalem. And there's the spear that pierced his side, so he bled. And here is the what's it called? The sponge that was dipped in bitter, like
vinegar or something.
Vinegar. It was actually wine gone bad.
Okay.
And then this skull down here, this is supposedly Adam's skull. Adam was supposedly buried on this hill, supposedly, in Jerusalem. And when Christ was crucified, he was crucified over the same mound, or on the same mound as the skull of Adam, according to legend. And then down here, these initials, I can't remember exactly what, I think it's, I don't remember, it has some significance. But anyways, that's pretty much a good, all of this has meaning. Everything in here is symbolic of something. And Jesus' initials are here. Jesus, there's the old-fashioned I, which later on it became like a backwards N, and then the C is the S sound, so it's Jesus, and then you see the X is pronounced kr, like that, Christos. So Jesus Christos in Russian.
That's really
Yeah, there's all this, and this is the stuff that your mother. We both love this, man. We were, I don't know, we were fanatical. That's cute. I mean, and I remember when she bought this. That's a stave church. It's also Russian. That's another piece exactly like this one here, except it's bigger. And
Yeah, I see what you mean.
yeah, I mean, a lot of these things. Let's see. This is a. I think this is a boyar's wedding. Oh no, it's a party. It's a blind man's buff. And these are boyars. This is 16th century Russia. That's what they're doing. You see the arches and the low ceilings. That was very typical of the Terem Palace in Moscow. That church there, that's the Savior on the Blood. Early in the morning when it's raining, that's the same church again, Savior on the Blood. Do you know what the legend of that is?
No.
When Tsar Alexander II was a man that liberated the serfs.
Yeah.
He was like the Abraham Lincoln of Russia. Anyways, that was very unpopular with certain people. And also, the Russian czars were viewed as dictators. They were viewed as tyrants. They weren't popular. And so that was an era when people thought that assassination was really cool. So he had come out of the palace. They were in an open carriage, and this is the Fontanka Canal. It's one of the three main canals that intersects St. Petersburg. And as he was driving along, literally right next to the canal, this woman came running out, and screamed some obscenities, something like, blow you up, you bastard, something like that, and hurled this bomb into the carriage. And it exploded, and it literally blew his legs off. Literally. And he bled to death on that spot. So, as a commemoration, they raised private funds. In other words, they put out a subscription, and people actually donated. And they built this church directly over the site of where he was assassinated. And they preserved these stones, the actual paving stones. They're great big river stones, and you can still see the blood. Supposedly, it's the blood that he, that ran out of him when he was dying. And so they built this this church looks very much like St. Basil's, the one right next to the Kremlin, with all the wild domes and so on. And it was built in that style. The inside is all done in mosaic. And it's been closed for many years. It's open again now. And by some miracle, when Ellen and I were there, they opened it for just, I think, like a couple of days. It was just very brief. It was totally unexpected. We went inside, and it knocked me out. The sun was coming in, and all those mosaics, a lot of them are done with gold leaf and gold foil behind them.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant. It was the most incredible sight I've ever seen. The ceilings, the walls, everything were done with that. And unlike most Russian churches that are sort of small and cramped, this one was open. And now they say it's open again, and I actually saw some special one. I think I saw it on YouTube. But that's called Savior on the Blood, because it's a church to Jesus, but it's on the blood of the Tsar. And the shrine for the blood is not in the front where the altar is, it's in the back.
Yeah.
You have to go, it's almost near the entrance, because he was killed right next to the canal. And so the church begins right on the edge of the canal, and then moves away from the canal. But that's what that is. So we went in there, and I did not know that history. Your mother is the one that told me that.
Yeah.
And then I went and looked it up, and because she knew more. I mean, she was, she'd studied Russia, but she wanted to study more than just the politics. That's what she was studying, the language.
Yeah.
But she was interested more into the cultural history.
Yeah, the art and all
And
that.
the art
That's, why,
and all
that's
that.
my impression.
Oh yeah, she went. It's just, well, same thing with me. I mean, I can't criticize. So
I'm gonna have to get off my knees.
okay, that's fine. And I'm keeping you all. I mean, I don't
know what time it is.
20 till 5.
All right. We'll probably want to go.
If you no, I mean, I'll take off here in a few minutes.
I was going to say, if you'd like to come eat with us, I mean, we're just going to go somewhere.
I'd like to, but I have an invitation for a friend. He called me yesterday.
Okay.
But I don't know how many. You said you're going to be here till August.
August 10, I think I needed to drive out.
Okay. Did you want me to come again? Do you need
Well,
my help again or anything?
Can you make any recommendations of any place that I could bring this stuff that they would be interested in buying it?
No.
Okay.
No.
You have to sell.
All I can tell you is that most people they'll give you nothing for it.
Yeah.
You're better off taking it someplace where people can see it and bid on it, or because they're not going to offer you, and they're going to say, "Oh, he wants to get rid of this," and they're going to see you in a position of weakness.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
It's not
the other
inaccurate.
thing I could recommend, if once you make space in here, is I mean, that's what Tudor would do. My tutor,
Yeah.
you would leave everything in the house, just try to make room for people to move around.
Mm-hmm.
Your chances of doing well with that are much better.
Okay.
He comes with a team. They,
Yes. Oh,
they
yeah.
arrange it.
Right, they do
set
all
it
that's
up.
true. That's true.
He's got
She's right.
staff that's in here while you don't have to do it. They
Yeah.
man